Good morning. Well, there we are. That's our new sting, and it introduces various people. Guess who has turned up? Bloody bad penny he is. Max Hurd, right? Old Max, he's everywhere at the moment. He's everywhere, and so he should be. He's a good lad, and we're very pleased and proud that he's part of our team. So Maxie hosts tomorrow, along with the recalcitrant Stuart Dolby. But he decided he wanted to come in today to do various things, and so here he is joining me this morning for Break an Egg. What are we going to do? We're going to take a look at the headlines first of all. Now, the newspaper headlines are the first one is the Eye, which says Church versus Boris Johnson. Bishops tell the Prime Minister Rwanda flight shames the UK. Now, I'm getting, why on earth the church manages to raise its head above the parapet, I have no idea.
The church does this fairly often now. They get involved with politics, and it's really quite annoying. It's like you're not a political organization; you're a church. Just
keep it that way. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But what I think is that this is shows just how discriminatory the church is without realizing it, because Rwanda now is beginning to get the reputation as being the jewel of Africa. That it is, of course, I mean, what is it? 20 years ago, it was accused of genocide, but it has now turned itself around with, I may say, some help from the West, so that we have helped create a rather modern, sophisticated African state. So you don't hear much about Rwanda, except when it gets into a controversial situation like this. There's a description yesterday of the hotel that these people will be kept in, and believe me, if that's the hotel that they're living in, I am going to catch that flight myself at 10:30 tonight. I would love to go to Rwanda and stay in that hotel, particularly since it would appear that there's an open and free bar. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. But it is the church thinks it's dreadful sending people to Rwanda. Why? Oh, because it's dreadful African country. What sort of discriminatory attitude is that? That is the very worst of discrimination. And yet these are the people that ponce around telling us to take the knee and how awful everybody is, and condemning society for its racist views. What does it do? It represents racism at its very worst, in my opinion.
I didn't even think about it like that, actually. That's quite... Yeah.
Not a bad thought?
No.
Right. Okay. Right. All right. The Daily Mail, the court of common sense. Now, the Daily Mail, is it the Daily Mail? Yeah, it is. It takes exactly the opposite view to the Eye, and says that basically what's happened is that the common sense has prevailed in our courts, and that the last minute appeals and the civil rights lawyers and the people who make a lot of money out of misery have been given a sharp slap across the face, and that they basically are doing the right thing, and that law has prevailed. And I would take that view. Law has prevailed. The same people who are saying, don't send them off on this plane and so on, and challenge them in the courts, are the very people who are those that cry foul when they come ashore in dinghies and unseaworthy vessels because they need to get here from either their homes or the other countries across Europe who simply will not tolerate them.
I was in Brighton not that long ago, and I was standing on the pier, and I see a boat of migrants land on the beach.
Did you?
In Brighton.
Wow.
I saw some in Dover, but that was like kind of expected. But then I saw it in Brighton as well. It's like, what? I was very surprised to see it in Brighton.
Yeah. But I suppose really that once they point the nose of their ship, their little boat is they just go, and where they end up, they don't care as long as it's not back in France.
No.
Right, okay. The metro, clear for takeoff. It follows up on that story, and that at 10:20, 10:30 tonight, I assume it's a 747 or one of the jumbo jets anyway, will take off. But what it says is that out of the original 100 or so that were supposed to be on it, there'll be only about a dozen or 20. Because of all the legal nonsense that has gone on, and costing us all thousands and thousands and thousands. For God's sake, you're quite right.
What is actually going on with the planes?
Sorry?
What is going on with the planes? Why is everything being cancelled recently?
Well,
I don't actually know.
The plane carrying the refugees to Rwanda is ready to go. There's nothing wrong with the plane.
Oh, okay.
But basically, challenges in court have they're not sure whether, in fact, the passengers would be on board because of court proceedings. But there was a hearing yesterday in which our Supreme Court ruled that the transportation of these people was totally and utterly legal, and so be it. And I think we should rule of law needs to prevail. With all this silly nonsense of people who want to twist and turn our own law and turn it against us, so eventually nothing ever gets done. I mean, that's basically it, and they pocket a lot of money for doing it. The Guardian. Oh, hey, The Guardian. EU to fight the UK in court over the bid to scrap Brexit checks. This is a Northern Ireland situation, and I've taken this view. I'm actually beginning to warm to Boris. Every time he tries to do something, he tries to be positive. Is you could guarantee that everybody then rises up and says, "Oh, it's Boris," and so on and so forth. But if you've been in Northern Ireland, you have to understand is that there is an affinity between North and South. They may be two separate countries, but there's an affinity. They're Irish. They both will say they're Irish. And as a consequence, imposing any sort of border control for trade is going to be difficult. And the one that has been dealt at the moment in the overall Brexit deal is not workable. So Boris has decided, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to scrap that one. And what we'll do is we will institute a second one, which we've drawn up, which gives an option to businesses to either deal under the EU rules with Ireland or with our rules as Britain. That makes eminent sense to me. Oh, Sinn Féin in the first. You can't do that. Oh, no, you can't do that. And then all sorts of other people have poured in. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Look, he's trying to do something. Let's give it a chance. If it doesn't work, we can go back to the drawing board. But this stopping everything before it's even got a chance to get onto the runway is a nonsense, an absolute rubbish nonsense. And it's beginning to really piss me off. The Times. EU pledges legal action over Brexit violation. Well, you would expect that. The EU is a busted flush. It doesn't matter whether you want us to be part of Europe, to be European. We're talking about the EU as an institution, and it doesn't work. It flies in the face of every known federation in the world by centralizing power in Brussels and giving very little to the constituent parts. Whereas in the United States, Canada, Australia, the central government has limited powers, limited authority, and much of it lies with the various states and with the provinces.
Yeah, I like that about America, how each individual state has its own laws. But with this specifically, Scotland wants to leave England. It wants to be its own independent country because it wants to have more control over its government. But in the same breath, it also wants to join the EU, where the problem is 10 times worse of not being heard. And I get it. Get it. They want their independence, but then they want to join the EU and be less independent.
You raise a very good point, Max. But of course, the thing is that this is all politics and emotion and so on. The fact of the matter is that if Scotland and or Wales, and or for that matter, Northern Ireland, should opt to go its own way, what it can't do is it can't turn around and say, but now what we want is, because we were part of your organisation under the UK, is now that we're independent, is we want to have privileges. We want to be let in to your organisation, to the union, without having to go through a lot of the nonsense that so many states like Poland, Hungary, some of the northern EU states had to go through to become members. Oh, well, we don't have to go through that because, we're Scotland. Look, once you break from the UK, you are just another little country. That's it. You go the same route. And actually, having worked very hard on developing Kosovo into a state that could eventually ask for membership of the European Union, is you work that hard. You expect just to sort of walk in. Well, that's not on. It's not fair. It's not proper. And it's time for Scotland and Wales to realise that this is one of the downsides. Can they live with that?
If you could vote on it, would you vote for Scotland to leave? Would you vote for Scotland to be like, yes, go away, don't be a part of us?
No, I mean, I think that a lot of there's a lot of emotion in the chaps with the kilts and the bagpipes and the glens and so on. But actually, Scotland benefits a great deal from its part in the Union of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, they benefit a lot. We don't benefit from them. We don't. What do we get from them?
Well, I mean,
we send them loads of money.
There has been a suggestion in the last couple of weeks is, why doesn't England say, okay, what we'll do is we'll break away from the other two or the other three? I mean, I don't think it was a serious suggestion, but nonetheless, it makes you think. Yeah, why don't we? Because we have got the best economy. We've got the trade deals and so on and so forth. We could break away. But actually, when you think about it, there is strength in unity. And what you do is, you take a few million people and you take away from your population. You take away, for instance, fishing ports.
I need to research this, but I'm pretty sure Scotland's biggest export is Harry Potter.
Is what, sorry?
It's Harry Potter, Harry Potter the film. Seriously, yeah. I think that's their most profitable export they have, is the books, the series, the licenses.
Well,
I have to look that up, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's
with all due respect to Harry Potter, I wouldn't want to feed a population on that.
No, I wouldn't either.
Right. Okay. The Financial Times. What's its headline this morning? Brussels threatens legal action on the bill to turn up Northern Ireland Protocol. Same thing. The Daily Telegraph. No tax cuts before inflation cools off. Now here's another one.
Got the same photo.
Sorry.
They even have the same photo.
Yeah, the royal family.
Yeah.
It's probably a Reuters photo. That's why it comes from one of the agencies. But no tax cuts. Once again, what do you want to bet? Even from his own party, Boris will take a hammering on this. But it makes sense because basic economics says that if you've got inflation, what you do is you raise interest rates. Right? You try to cool the economy and get it under control, and then you can start to look at a decent cost of living issues, and prices aren't as high, and the money begins to flow. And that's the job of the central bank. So if you actually go cutting taxes, what that does is it stokes economic activity. It's much better to deal when you haven't got as many. I mean, think of it this way. If suddenly your pint of beer goes down by tuppence because they take the tax off or cut the tax, many more people will drink much more beer. It makes common sense, economic sense. And that's what happens broadly. So saying no tax cuts until we've got inflation under control makes a lot of sense. But a lot of people will find a reason to have a go at him. The Mirror. Wills, it's Andrew or me. Right, we're getting down to the good old fight within the royal family now.
Is that Andrew?
It's Prince Andrew, who wants to be restored in every way, all his titles, and to go back into a public, royal public life. And apparently it's not only causing some problems and some worries about from the general public and so on, but it's also causing some ruction in the royal family. And according to the royal watchers, William has said, "Hey, listen, you started to give him that sort of thing. You count me out," and that's pretty serious. If the future king says, "Count me out of some of these things that you do," so there's a right royal row going on.
Yeah, but I think he should be cut out of a lot of things because of who he was associated with.
Yes, and he has been cut out. What he's saying is, "Let me back in."
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying, no, should, I don't think there's anyone advocating for Prince Andrew. I don't think there's a single person on his side apart from maybe his lawyers because he pays for them.
Now, the Daily Express, which always tends to support the government, says Andrew's row over what he calls his birthright. In other words, these things, he's getting dangerously close, in my view, to the divine right of kings. I was born to have these things, and you can't take them away from me. Wow. That is pretty fighting stuff, I think. That's stuff that, in many ways, is the sort of thing that people who are anti-royalist love, because it gives the Republican argument a much
stronger argument.
Yes, it gives them now the Sun, the Wills House of Windsor. I forget what that one was about.
I think.
I know the House of Windsor. What the William has decided to take a small cottage, only a 4-bedroom cottage in Windsor Great Park, I think it is, to be closer to the Queen.
Only a 4-bedroom.
Only a 4. Oh, yes, right. Yes. And the Daily Star. Hell's bells. The Star has watched the weather for us and the encroaching heat wave very, very carefully. And this morning's hell's bells. We're all going to roast to death.
When is this heat wave? I've only just heard about this like yesterday.
Well, you're starting the experience it first day. Yesterday was 90 degrees, which has been average for our for what we've been doing. And today is 21. Tomorrow is going to be 23. And by the end of the week, it's supposed to reach 30. Really? Now, then it is very, very, very hot. And what they're saying is, what the paper is saying is, there'll be an invasion of hornets, heat stroke, airport, baggage hell, Ryanair staff go on strike. In this heat wave, all those frustrating things are going to drive us all mad. So be careful.
So the trains are on strike that week as well, and buses are already hot because of the engine and stuff. I'm going to be getting the bus here, and I'm going to be baked alive.
You are, I'm afraid. That's the one of the things that is. Let's see. Now, what we're going to do is one of the things that Mirador Television does and should do is make people aware, because we've got a lot of people who are new to this area, make people aware of the history that we have. And part of that history is in the Priory. The Priory, which is just on the outskirts of Lewes. It's only a ruin now because the Vandal King, Henry VIII, had it all pulled down in 1540, something, I think, as part of the demolition of the monasteries. Right there is much of the great history from the time of the Conqueror, 1066, until 1500. It is a wonderful history. So we're going to take a look at Sir Genry. Now, who is Sir Genry? Sir Genry is a knight, a medieval knight, and he stands 7 feet tall in the grounds of the Priory as a reminder of the Battle of Lewes, which was the first a glimmer of proper democracy in English history, but also showed that the knights were not prepared to put up with a wastrel king spending their money, and so a parliament was born. Now, Genry is our mascot. But he also is a medieval knight. So let's see who he is and what he is. And I think this is what it's all about. took a
Hello, there we go. I think that's better. Maybe. Give me a second. Hello, there we go. I think that's better. That is better. Maybe. Okay, the picture isn't too bad. Give me a second.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, we thought that we were having real problems with the picture. It does seem as if the videos we're having problems with. Let's try this one again and see what happens.
Press play.
Right. Well, we have no sound.
No. Yeah. Okay. You can see like it's the videos that are a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to carry the show this morning then.
All right. Just remove. Click remove. There we go. Okay, so I don't know what that issue was because the quality. I mean, this picture quality is good, but the I don't know. Anyway, it's fine.
Forgive us for discussing this. Yesterday, we had no problems at all. Today, we have a problem. This picture isn't too bad for recipients, but the videos are useless, which means that you're going to have to put up with us chatting and our head and shoulders for quite a bit this morning. At the moment, it is 9:03, and we've gone through the papers. So
I had a story that I found. I briefly spoke to you about it this morning.
Right, tell us.
But this has been reported in like Sky News, The Telegraph, The Daily Mail, a whole bunch of things, Washington Post, all that sort. And so this is an article from The Telegraph. Cow and sheep burps to be taxed by New Zealand.
Right, tell us all.
So, when cows and sheep burp, there's a lot of carbon dioxide that comes out, and it's bad for climate change, bad for the emissions and all that nonsense.
Flatulence.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they are now taxing. It's also known as fining. They're fining the farmers every time a cow and sheep burps. They're not standing there and watching each individual cow, obviously, but what they're doing is taking an average of how many cows burp per hour and how many sheep burp per hour and taxing you on it per burp on average because it's affecting climate change. And this is just ridiculous. I know there's been some ridiculous climate change laws before, but this one I really think has topped it. I can't think of a stupider one. I genuinely can't.
Well, I must confess is we do get some strange things coming through in legislation actually squeezes through, which was not meant to be, but it gets. I hope that this is squeezed through. It was not meant to be because you're quite right. It's ridiculous.
And this is for local farmers. New Zealand is a small island with 8 million people or so. It's a small island. The local farmers really help. And taxing them isn't going to help with the rest of the population because it's just going to drive meat prices up. The farmers aren't going to want to pay for that, so they're going to charge more to sell the cows to the slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse then has to sell the meat for more, and then the shops have to sell the meat for more as well. So it just keeps piling on, piling on. So it's not the farmers paying for this taxes, it's you, it's the consumer.
Well, once again, I suppose I understand what it is the green lobby trying hard to do what is best for the environment, and God bless them. I suppose that we shouldn't knock it too hard. The only thing is that they don't seem to ever do anything in a practical sense.
They glue themselves to bridges. Very practical.
Exactly. I mean, here is tax the farmer as if he can stop his sheep burping, but and I suppose really there is some argument that the farmer can be responsible for its own.
I can understand the mindset behind tax the rich. I can understand that mindset. But what I can't understand is tax the working class because they're bad for climate change, because they have animals.
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand how you come to that conclusion, and I agree.
But not this conclusion. This one, I can't come to that.
No, exactly.
I can't wrap my head around it.
Exactly, I can't get my head around it either. So we're as one on that, Max. We're as one. Right. Okay. Now, are you a sports-minded chap?
No, not at all.
Right. Well, just for a moment. Let me just mention the fact that we seem to have come alive as far as cricket is concerned. And where it looked as if the New Zealanders were hammering us, we came back with a bang. And it looks now as if we may well be with a chance of winning the series against them. So there, a bit of national pride is being restored. I understand that as far as football is concerned, is it this year that the World Cup takes place, or is it next year? I get lost in these things.
Yeah, the last one was in 2018, so it would be this year.
Right. Okay, and this is the controversial one that's being held in Qatar. Is that right?
I am not 100% sure.
I think it is, and I think even now there are people who are trying to stop it taking place in Qatar because even by the standards of the Gulf, Qatar is a naughty boy and doesn't pay too much attention to any of the laws that govern not only the area but also the world.
They're not the most respectful of human rights.
They are not.
Heard.
Indeed, you're absolutely right. But I think that the I mean, one wonders how, in fact, Qatar got the World Cup anyway. But we must remember that these things are planned sort of 6 or 7 years ahead. And there was the scandal for FIFA, if you recall, and their president had to step down. So if money changed hands to get it to Qatar, it's done and dusted.
Well,
there's not much we can do about it.
Speaking of that, actually, it just reminded me, there's a big question about ethics going to Qatar, right? But FIFA is also a video game, football video game, FIFA. They are taking out all Russian players and Russian teams from the game.
Oh, how silly.
Just because they're Russian.
Yeah, that's silly.
Even like Roman Abramovich, what was his name? Is that his name?
Abramovich, yeah.
He wasn't pro-Putin, was he? He was very much on the side. He wasn't pro-Putin. He was very much on the side of Ukraine. He said this multiple times. He stated it. But he still had to give up everything. And then what happened to him? He got poisoned?
Yeah, almost, yeah. There was some threat. However, he is a mate of Putin's. So, be careful how you choose your friends, Max.
I suppose, yeah.
Okay, let us just for a moment get on the lighter side. And because we are expecting a heat wave, be very careful. It is easy to get out as Noel Coward wrote, mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. And we do have a tendency to ignore some of the methods that others who are used to having hot weather all the time use. And as a consequence, we have citizens who look as if they belong in a lobster pot. And it's not very, very pleasant. And it also can put a strain on the NHS services if we're not careful. So do be careful as far as the weather is concerned. But you expressed some surprise when you came in, Max, that it was going to get that hot. It obviously hasn't made a dent in your awareness of what sort of summer we're going to have.
No, it hasn't. I didn't even realize. I don't know. I've been shut off all this week. I haven't been looking at anything really. I've been quite busy this week actually, so I haven't looked at anything.
Yeah. I had a little yawn there.
That's fine.
No, you're not boring me.
No.
It's just,
That's fine. Well, yesterday was actually my last exam, so I'm in the clear now.
Oh,
I've only got 2 weeks left of college, and then I'm
you're out in the big wide world.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that we can help you in that regard. We like having you work with us. We've got the work. We're rapidly moving to a situation where we can get advertising and so on and so forth. We've just got to clear up 1 or 2 little things, such as why we can't run video at the moment. And over the next couple of days, we will address that because it not only takes things away from us, but from you and the viewer as well. So there are some things that now need to address. And address very carefully. We should give you a reminder of the fact that it is 8:13.
9:13.
Sorry, 9:13. Jack DeManio lives. 9:13. Goodness gracious me! It was 7:30 just a few minutes ago, and it is the 14th day of June in the year 2022, and not an easy year. And it doesn't look as if it's going to get any better. What have you found in the inside of the papers, Max?
I haven't looked at it.
He's a naughty boy.
I thought we were going to do that for the next segment, so I didn't. Didn't
Well,
start yet.
we need to find out.
What is going on with Tony Blair in court, by the way? I keep seeing things about that.
No, I don't know. Tony has gone off the radar for a little while, but he looks as if he's coming back because he was booed yesterday when he turned up at this fancy dress thing that the royal family threw. And so obviously his popularity as a prime minister, I mean, when he was prime minister, he could barely do anything wrong. And now he's not a heavyweight in politics. Well, no. He is and he isn't. But we seem to have it in for him, and I'm not quite sure why. I love lurid headlines. A farmer got away with killing his wife for 4 decades, right? He killed his wife and got away with it for 40 years before they suddenly said, oi, this bloke is a bit suspicious. Why does it say there why they are suspicious?
No, but he was 89 when he was arrested. So he did this crime when he was 40, almost. Yeah, when he did the crime when he was 49 years old. And
right. He's got away with it pretty well, hasn't he? To date. Well, I mean, the funny thing is we tend to take a romantic view of a lot of these things, but it is crime. and if you actually batter somebody's brains in, you have to pay the price. Lots of pictures of pretty girls.
Yes, it seems like a little bit of a slow news day. There's a headline here: peckish puppy who turned into a piggy bank. There was a dog that ate lots and lots of coins.
Oh, the puppy dog was eating. So,
like 1p, 2p, 20p. There's £2 coins in there.
And then he became poorly, I take it.
Probably.
And then when they went they took him to the vet.
They got an X-ray of him. Yeah, and he's just got lots of coins all around his stomach.
He's a walking piggy bank. Yeah, absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
I like that.
I think we've got to like the advert section, I'll be honest. Seems like a bit of a slow news day. But it's been quiet recently. There hasn't been a whole lot going on. It doesn't seem like.
Right. It's
because everyone's just repeating the same headlines.
Yeah. It's I mean we are heading towards a very decent summer. Well, a very decent summer if you actually like the heat and hot days.
Which I did not.
So in that sense, we're in good nick. But that doesn't. We mustn't let that take away from the fact that the world is still in one hell of a mess, and that each day we open up our newspapers or open up news pages on the internet, we see that there's a new scandal or a new issue that we have to fight. Life is not great at the moment, and it's one of those things that we really do have to make sure that we are able to cope with. And I think you were here the other day when we saw the headline is a million children are going to starve. Now, you have some very fixed views on how we should handle children who are hungry and whose fault it is, Max. Do you want to give us a little rundown on your thinking?
I wasn't here for that headline, actually. Could you tell me a little bit about the story? Why a million children where in this country?
Well, basically, it talked about the fact that people on benefits who were getting free school meals, for instance, and support to get food, are no longer going to because of legislation introduced by Boris Johnson.
Well, I think that's ridiculous because I was on free school meals and that's what got me by. If I hadn't have had that program, if there wasn't a free school meal program at primary school and secondary school, I wouldn't have had lunch. I wouldn't have anything to eat.
Yeah, right. Now, this is a lot of people who would be watching us. I would describe, generally speaking, as a middle class. They sort of tend to look down on community support, but community support is much more widespread than we're led to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you got some personal experience. How did the state or the local authority representing the state, how did they look after you?
Well, they did pretty well, actually. I'm not going to lie. They did pretty well. So I had free school meals for many, many years. So probably like 7-8 years, free school meals. And that's what got me by. If I hadn't have had them, I would have gone hungry. We used the food bank every so often. At one point, you can only use the food bank, I think, 4 times a month. 4 times a year, maybe 5 times a year. It's not often, but we had a special thing where we were getting food bank deliveries monthly to get us by. My mum ended up in quite a bit of debt. It was quite bad, And if it wasn't for the food bank, if it wasn't for the social programs, if it wasn't for the school lunches, yeah, I would have gone hungry a lot more often than I did.
Why do we get these situations where people can't get food?
Because people get into debt. My mum's debt wasn't her fault. The tax credits overpaid her by many thousands of pounds and said, "Oh, well, I know we did the mistake, but it's your problem. You have to pay it back in full by this amount of time." And they took all our money, basically.
Ah, I mean, that's outrageous.
Because of their mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, nobody in government is willing to accept that they make a mistake. This sounds like a sort of a left-wing tirade this morning, and it's not at all. We are very independent.
Yeah.
In this on this television station, what we do is we do look and we believe that we are able to make comments on various things that take place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a conservative, but I would say I'm a conservative, but I'm still for like social programs, especially for when it comes to children, because the children they can't help themselves. It's not their problem. It's never their fault. So I'm all for social programs for specifically parents and children. If you're living on your own and you can't be bothered to get a job, that's your problem, not mine. My aunt, she lives out in Dubai, and she was telling me that there's no social programs, there's nothing, there's no benefits. If you don't have a job, you don't get paid, unless you're a disabled person. Then they give you help because it's not your fault. You were born that way, or something happened to you horribly. But if you don't work, you don't get paid in Dubai. That's how it works.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that's a horrendous idea, because it'll get people off their butts, really, and actually get in the workforce. People in this country.
Right. It is 9:23. We are going to take a short break to get ourselves ready for our second program, which is going to be a little bit less than we would have had because this morning the video is playing up. But let's just see whether it is playing up beyond redemption. And this is what we always love to play to give us a breather.
Well, that's actually very surprising to me. Now it's working perfectly, no nothing, and now the camera's pretty. I don't know. The camera's not great, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's based on how many people are using the internet at once.
Right.
So if there are more people online, it's going to get worse. If there's no one online, our picture's going to be perfect.
Well, let's just try this one again and see what results we get. We've got an eye on it on another monitor, so we'll see.
God, I don't know why I'm so tired. I keep yawning. There we go.
The quality of the video is not great. It is 9:26. We normally cut out at 9:30 for about 10 minutes just to prepare ourselves for our next bout of programs. But Max, you thought that you saw a glimmer of understanding as to why we're having those problems.
Possibly. So we have on the side of our screen here our intros and outros and little clips that we have for all the different shows, and they're perfect quality. But once we went into the finals to upload something to show here, the quality went terribly. So the first one is just on the side of our screen here, and it's a part of StreamYard. But once we brought something from our files, I don't know what happened. It went terribly wrong. I'm not quite sure. Sometimes I do hate technology because it just goes all over the place for no discernible reason. Sometimes you just have to put up with it. But I have no idea how to fix this problem. But I'll try for sure.
Well, we are trying, and it is important that you get a decent picture, because otherwise you're just going to leave us. You're not going to bother to follow us. And we're here to serve you. But we're now 9:27, so basically we're going to take a little break now, and then we'll be back in about 10 minutes to join you for another bout of some sort of television.